these signs don't work very well for visibility.
The tall guys in the back.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for being here today. And I'm joined by Senate President Martin Looney, Senate Majority Leader Bob Duff, House Minority Leader Vinnie Candelora, Finance Committee House Ranking Member Joe Paletta, and Energy Committee House Ranking Member Tracy Mara, among others. And I'm grateful to all of you for being here. We are here today in advance of a public hearing on SB 1560, an act concerning Connecticut's economy, electricity affordability, and business competitiveness, and establishing the Connecticut Energy Procurement Authority and the Green Bond. This legislative session began and continues to identify the cost of electricity in Connecticut as the issue of greatest concern to the residents and businesses of this state. The bill before the Finance Committee today recognizes the concerns of our constituents by providing for an immediate 20% reduction on their bill. This 20% reduction is accomplished by the removal of the public benefit charges from the electric bill and establishing the Green Bond to support each of the initiatives over 3 years. An equally important step this bill takes is to lower electricity costs by another 20% by transforming the state's highly inefficient procurement, transmission, and distribution systems into the next generation of electricity system, from static auctions to strategic procurement, from wasteful infrastructure to a high-efficiency distribution network, and from passive customers to active participants. We accomplished that transformation with the creation of the Connecticut Energy Procurement Authority, CEPA. It will be the central architect and implementer of Connecticut's electricity transformation to deliver lower costs, reduce emissions, and smart use of our infrastructure. There are certain fundamental truths that have caused us to have the highest electricity rates in the country. There are certain fundamental truths that we must acknowledge and act on if we want to reverse the path we are on. And there's one last fundamental truth. If we choose to do nothing, electricity costs will continue to increase. I'll be back to provide additional information on the bill, but now I'd like to call upon Senate President Martin Looney.
Thank you, Senator Fonfara. I think that this press conference is a hopeful sign of cooperation. We have bipartisan interest in the bill from the House Republican caucus, represented here with its leader, Representative Vin Candelora, and other members of the caucus. The subject of energy and energy rates is, as we know, complex, challenging, highly nuanced, and it is a subject matter that is almost a language unto itself. There are very few people in this building that are ever able to get a thorough mastery of all of the the intricacies and nuances of energy policy, especially when, as in this bill, it is also linked in with bonding policy as well, as a way to deal with the issue of the public benefit costs over time. So I think that this bill will be an important contribution to the debate that we're going to have this session about energy policy. I think that the one thing that we can agree on, I know that the House Republican leader and I don't agree on a lot, but I think we certainly can agree on the fact that a primary goal should be finding a path to lower electricity rates for our people as a benefit to both to individuals and to businesses in Connecticut. And again, this is a bill that, along with Senate Bill 4 from the Energy Committee, and I'm sure that there's also there's a House Democratic issues being worked on. Eventually, they will all go into the hopper and provide something that I think the people of Connecticut will recognize as a legitimate response to the crisis that we face. And now I'd like to introduce a former Energy Committee chair, our great Senate Majority Leader, Senator Bob Duff.
Thank you, Senator Looney. Thank you, Senator Fonfara, and all the folks who are gathered today, and of course to my colleague, Representative Candelora, the House Republican leader, as well. As a former chair of the Energy Committee, I know that one of the things that we have always struggled on for many years is procurement and how best to procure energy, and it is something that the Energy Committee has struggled with for a long time, because many times we have worked to figure out kind of ways to build a better mousetrap, only then to for the time, and then only then to find out that we need to find another way to build the mousetrap because it's not working for ratepayers. I think that Senator Looney said it well when we think of the legislature as a great place for ideas, and all ideas should be explored at all times. And so I want to thank Senator Fonfara, the Finance Committee, for hearing this bill today and for thoughtfully putting forward legislation. Also, as Senator Looney said, we have Senate Bill 4. There are other bills out there as well, and I think the goal should be for everybody in this building to look at various ways in which we can bring down the cost of electricity and energy that's in our state. Some of those decisions may be more apparent and maybe something that we can do on a short-term basis. There are certainly solutions that require a longer-term solution as well. But there should be an opportunity and a venue to hear all those ideas. As we said when we rolled out Senate Bill 4 with Senator Needleman, that opportunity exists and that all ideas should be explored, and this is one of those ways in which we have all those ideas to be explored. So again, thank you to everybody for being here. I'm glad that we have a bipartisan press conference on this today, and look forward to seeing the results of the public hearing. And now I'd like to hand it to our distinguished House Republican leader, Vin Candelora.
Thank you, and good morning, everyone. On behalf of our caucus, we are here to support the concepts that are in this bill that we're going to hear today in the public hearing. For us, we were disappointed. A lot of proposals that we had in the Energy Committee did not get advanced, and we look forward to having a vehicle to put forth a bill that is actually trying to address the cost in electricity. With the public benefits charges in particular, as we saw that broken out on people's electric bills, and there's more transparency over what people are paying for in their bills, that heightened scrutiny has certainly brought heightened pressure onto the legislature to react and address it. And I think there are ways certainly to reduce people's electric bills. This piece of legislation does that, and we look forward to that bipartisan conversation that is so needed to try to address the concerns of our business community and our residences and the impacts that high electric costs have had on the state of Connecticut. Thank you.
At this point, ask the ranking member in the Finance Committee from the House, Joe Paletta.
Thank you, and good morning, everyone. It's no secret that Connecticut pays far too much for electricity. I don't think you can frequent a local establishment, a diner, sit around the family dinner table and talk with your family and friends and your constituents and ask them, what is your biggest ask of the legislature this session? And it is, fix the electric bill crisis. That is what's going on right now in Connecticut. It is the #1 issue by far. The bills are too damn high, and people that have small businesses, people that are living on fixed incomes, single parents trying to raise a family cannot afford these bills every month. $300, $400, $500. Something needs to change. This bill seeks to lower rates 40% in the next 2 years. That's why I'm here today. I want to see bills reduced 40% in the next 2 years. The public benefits charge has been a gripe of folks across Connecticut since they started to see the breakdown on the bill. Let's reduce the public benefits charge. There's no reason why people should be paying that every single month and sacrificing groceries, sacrificing food for family, sacrificing leisure. It's taking money out of our economy. It's affecting the state of Connecticut. So we're going to hear the bill today. We have a number of people from the business community. We have a number of people that have been disproportionately affected by this crisis in Connecticut that are going to testify in favor of this bill. And I look forward to having that conversation and moving this conversation along and out of the Finance, Revenue, and Bonding Committee so we can negotiate it in a bipartisan way and fix this problem. And I would like to introduce State Rep Deputy Leader Dave Ritigliano to speak briefly about his ideas and views on this bill.
Well, I have an idea.
Thank you. I'm just really happy to be here. We're happy to, House Republicans are happy to consider any proposal that will lower electric rates for the citizens of Connecticut. Businesses last year paid $500 million in a benefit charge. My business alone, the increase alone, the 10-month payback, was an additional $70,000. That's money that we use to pay employees to expand or profit and move on and repair things. So whatever it takes to lower the electric rates and the electric bills for businesses in Connecticut and the hardworking men and women that work for those businesses, we would support. Thank you.
Thank you all. So I'd like to just take a couple minutes to delve into the specifics of the bill. Mentioned about the green bond, which we will shift the public benefit charges that are currently on the electric bill to the green bond. This is mirrored after New York, which did about a $4 billion green bond, Massachusetts another green bond, and we are implementing our own. Procurement, the current system we have, which is supply on your bill, 4 parts on your bill: supply, transmission, distribution, public benefit charges. Supply is about a third, 25 to 30%. The system is antiquated. It was never designed to handle 80% of all residential customers who remain. So in this room, probably 80% of you remain on standard service, whether it be Eversource or UI, and you're all paying more than you need to, all of you. And the work, I believe in the market, but it hasn't worked. And we're not taking away the market at all. What we're saying is for those customers who have decided not to leave the utility for their supply, that the way that supply is accomplished is much more aggressive, much more strategic, with a team of folks who every day are searching for better opportunities. Today, it's done on a schedule. It's like buying stocks 3 times a year, irrespective of whether the market's up or down. You wouldn't do it. That's what we do for your supply. Long overdue to be changed. This bill changes it dynamically, strategically, and if you want a model, some of you know about CMEC, that handles municipal, 6 towns in municipal. Look at that same model is what we're looking at to bring for standard service customers. Transforming transmission and distribution. Again, very, very inefficient, 50% efficient. That means we build to a certain level of capacity, but we use this much on average throughout the year. Makes no sense. It's like if you had a restaurant and you were designing your kitchen, you design it for one day for the big wedding, but the rest of the year you have one little corner of the kitchen. You wouldn't do it. That's what we've done with electricity. We build to the peak day of the year, and we do nothing to mitigate that peak. We will implement time of use rates, smart meters, of which UI already has. Almost all of their customers have smart meters. Large business customers for Eversource does, but the rest do not. That has to happen, and it happens soon. We will have time of use rates from 4 to 7 p.m., about a 300% difference between on-peak and off-peak. You will see people changing their behavior. Driving down that peak, we will bring together the enormous impact that solar is having. Solar is good, but it's having an enormous impact on revenue for the utilities. Forget about the utilities. When revenue falls and costs are rising, your rates go up. And that's what's been happening. We used to be able to put a lot of things like public benefit charges in the bill, but revenue was exceeding costs, so we could do that. That day is over. Revenue has fallen dramatically in the last 15 years because of solar primarily. But we don't use it as a resource. Every home that has solar on it, every business that has solar on it, is a mini power plant. But it doesn't discharge when we need it. It discharges in the middle of the day when we don't need it. And it's inefficient. And we can do a lot better by coordinating. That's the role for SEPA. SEPA will be the architect, the implementer, the everyday effort that doesn't exist today. Pure doesn't do it and won't. It's not designed to. Deep doesn't do it and won't. It's not designed to. And we're not going to do it. We need an entity that is the driver of all of these things that will lower transmission and distribution rates, lower procurement rates. And we will, after 3 years, this building will decide on the public benefit charges how many of those belong on the bill and how many don't. And I believe some of those won't be needed anymore when we fully roll out what's in this bill. So that's a very high-level explanation of what the bill will do. I'm hoping that more will learn about it. Certainly, you folks here today can go a long way in educating the public about what this bill will do and how relief is on the way. Thank you.
John, how does it not blow through the roof of the bond caps?
Plenty of room under the cap,
How much is plenty?
significantly more than where we are.
And could you go again further into why this isn't wouldn't usurp PURA's authority?
We stay away from Pura. A couple of places where we say we want them, like with smart meters, we say we want you to do this and as quickly as possible, but SEPA is not infringing on Pura's authority.
And what's the relationship to ISO New England in this?
ISO manages the grid. We're not interfering with that operation whatsoever. Again, this is about making our system as efficient as possible. We're paying a lot more than we need to and not using the investment we've made adequately and efficiently.
Can you backtrack a little bit about the green bank? So the money that is now
Green bond.
Green, okay. Money from the public benefits charge, and there are a lot of different charges. How much money are we talking? So that's not going to be on people's bill anymore. How much does that equate to, and what happens to that money?
It will be bonded. We're not discontinuing any program. None. It's how we're paying for it. Right now, it's on the electric bill, and many of those do not have anything to do with the actual procurement and delivery of electricity to your home and to businesses of this state.
So the state would bond the money to pay for the public benefits charges.
That's right.
How much money are we talking about?
The bill has $800 million currently.
And the other question I had was this SEPA. Is this an advocate in a sense for the state? So they, what I'm trying to get is that is this a way to determine other avenues for consumers other than the utilities or whatever? What is the focus of SEPA?
The focus is to make the 3 areas, and maybe even the 4th, public benefit charges, it will weigh in on that as well. But the main areas are to make the procurement of electricity much more efficient. We believe we can cut that in half. There are costs in there that this bill will eliminate immediately. Secondly, with transmission and distribution, as I've been mentioning, is we don't use the system efficiently. Last July 15th at 5 o'clock was the peak hour of the year for 2024. 6,000 megawatt hours. The average for the year that we use, 3,000 megawatt hours. But we bill to 6,000 and we pay for 6,000. We're going to bring that down, and you will see an immediate reduction in transmission and distribution rates.
Would SEPA be a board, and would there be board members?
Yes.
Who would be on that?
Very technical backgrounds. This is not a joke. We need that capacity, both on the board and those that will be doing the implementing of these initiatives.
Would you be interested in being on that board?
No.
You have very specific requirements in the bill for each board member of SEPA, areas that they need to have experience and expertise in. Can you just talk through the wisdom of each of those points and maybe kind of why?
We need constant analytics. As an example, I've said earlier, on-peak, off-peak times, 4 to 7 on-peak, the rest of the time off-peak, all weekends off-peak. Roughly, I'll give you an example, 9 cents off-peak, 27 cents on-peak. What would you do? Are you going to use power during the 3 hours? I doubt it. And we have batteries for those who can't. And that's where the value of solar changes dramatically, because we can now bring 1,660 megawatt hours are generated by solar. That's 3 times a large generating facility in New England. But it's not used wisely. It's used in the middle of the day when the sun is shining. We don't need it then. We are getting very close to hours where that solar generation will be dumped because there's more generation than need. That's stupid and very costly. And so this entity is going to be the brains that determines that example. Is it 4 to 7? They're going to have information from smart meters on how people are using energy, and they can recommend it should be 4:30 to 7:30, 5 to 8. But take that further in terms of we need to lower the peak, we need to get rid of the duck curve in the middle of the day that solar is causing, and flatten that load curve so that our efficiency level, which is 50% right now, we say in the bill increase by 1% a year minimum. We want to get to 60, 70%. Midwest states are around 70% for efficiency. I don't know if we'll get there, but we have to try.
What about wind power? Is that a part of this equation?
Well, you know, it's not, it's the future, very costly, and we'd have to, again, figure out how to make that work within, what this bill says is we're making costs primary. Costs have not been primary.
On the bonds, so you're borrowing money. Typically when you do that, you have to pay that money back with interest.
Not typically.
The proposal from Republicans was to put the public benefits charge in the annual budget. Those would be recurring costs. Why is it the most physically prudent option to borrow money to pay for that?
You're spreading the costs over many more years, and the state borrows at a much lower rate than a utility can or anyone else can. It has the power of the taxpayer behind it. Risk is lower. It's all about risk. A lot of what's in the procurement we're paying for is risk because of the way we do it. We also pay profit to those that bid and win the bid. Under SEPA, there'll be no risk and there'll be no profit.
But at the end of the day, you're shifting the cost from the ratepayers to the taxpayers, and you would be increasing that cost, even though it's over time. The cost would be more because you're paying it back with interest.
It's for 3 years. It's for 3 years for us to be able to figure out what's the most efficient way to do this and have the legislature decide, are these things helpful to us in advancing the goals of the state to lower electricity costs for a cleaner environment? And if the answer is yes to that, and that should be borne by ratepayers, the legislature will make that decision. If it decides it's not, and I think many of those things either won't be needed anymore or will be decided not to put those on the electric bill. But it gives us that window of time, and it spreads those costs over many years. We did that with respect to teacher retirement. We did that with respect to state retirement because we wanted to get rid of these. If we keep these things on the bill, storm costs is an example, $1 billion in storm costs for Eversource alone. If we put that on the bill, if you think customers and our constituents are upset now, wait for that. And we address that by securitization, spreading those costs over many more years.
But at the end of the 3 years, would you have to take out another bond to pay for the next?
Again, that's up for the legislature to decide, but it will be a prudent decision with a lot more information from SEPA advising the legislature as to whether or not these are the best interests of the state. And given what we're saying, costs matter. Businesses are impacted greatly in this state. And why is that important? What the commissioner said, that electricity costs, this is the DECD commissioner, has said it many times, written it, spoken on it. Electricity costs are an existential threat to the economy of the state of Connecticut. This building functions on how well the economy of the state of Connecticut is working. We like to spend that money, but it won't be coming in if electricity costs are driving businesses out, telling them don't expand, and more importantly, don't locate here. We need to grow load. We need to overcome the fact that the equation right now of costs are exceeding revenue. We have to reverse that where revenue is exceeding cost. When we do that, and we do it 2 ways in particular, we focus on, it's a little technical, folks, but electric vehicles, you see cars sitting at a charging station for hours. They often leave their car waiting to have their car charged. Solid-state batteries are coming in a year. You can charge your vehicle in under 10 minutes and get 500 miles. Many people are going to go convert to electric vehicles when that happens. It's no longer range anxiety. It's time to charge. This will change. But right now, the infrastructure for the 2 utilities cannot handle the need for 500 kW to charge at that level. This bill supports that conversion. The second thing is heat pumps. The two areas that the Commissioner of DEEP has said repeatedly we need to do to electrify and move from natural gas and oil to electricity is heat pumps. And we subsidize heat pumps to give people the break, a rebate, so they do that. If you're an average 700 kilowatt hour customer right now, and you go to an electric vehicle, you're now an 1,100 kilowatt hour customer. If you go to a heat pump, you're now a 2,100 kilowatt hour customer. So you might say, well, my bill is going to go up. The goal is to get more kilowatt hours into the system so that each unit costs less. We've been going in the other direction. This reverses that. And so this is a comprehensive initiative that's long overdue. I take no pride of authorship. We welcome not only bipartisan, but many different ideas coming from wherever to make this bill the best it can be. And I think the people of the state of Connecticut, I know they will be benefiting from it, as well as our economy.
John, we've heard so many times that we need to bring the cost down, but I think you've highlighted the fact that we need to increase our supply, especially if we're moving more towards electric vehicles and heat pumps. So we're pushing people to use more electric. Is this like a pilot program that you evaluate in 3 years?
Not at all. It's not more supply. There's plenty of supply. That's a misnomer.
Okay.
It's not being used at the right times. We have built this system. It's like a six-lane highway, and we're using 3 lanes. And when we built it, we expected to pay $1 in a toll. Sorry, Vinny, but $1 in a toll. but he is okay. But because now, instead of 1 million cars on that highway, there's only 500,000. And so the toll is $2 now. That's what we've been doing. Less electricity in the system, but costs are rising. We have to reverse that. I know we've all been taught to conserve, but solar has reduced the amount of kilowatt hours in the system so much. Our revenue has fallen, and our costs are rising. That paradigm is unsustainable.
So are you saying we're producing too much power at the wrong times?
We're using power at the wrong times.
Would you require, are Eversource and UI, would they be required to buy from the procurement authority? Would they have the flexibility to go elsewhere in the market? And are there other states that do this? Now, I know you pointed to Norway.
They're coming out. The utilities are being taken out of the procurement business. They're going to say thank you, because it's just a thankless job for them. They make no money on it. They get criticized when rates go up, and they don't get any recognition when rates go down. I'm no apologist for them, but that's the reality, so they'd be glad to give this up. The question is, what do we do? And what we're doing now just cannot continue. It was never designed for it. We thought a very small percentage of customers would stay on standard service and that everybody would go out into the market. It didn't happen. 80% of residents remain getting their power from standard service, and 50% of businesses. And they're all paying more than they should.
So this authority would purchase electricity on behalf of the utilities?
Well, they're purchasing it on behalf of the customer, the consumer.
But it would still, you would still show up
On
in
the,
your
bill,
utility bill.
on the bill, it would say, this is your rate. Yep, absolutely right. But we're getting rid of the 6-month change, and it's based on opportunity buying, opportunistic buying. It's not, okay, it's November, it's time to have an auction. It just doesn't, it doesn't work. It's like do you go to the store and buy peaches for $3 a pound in the middle of winter? You don't, but that's what we're doing. We've been doing it for 25 years.
Could they buy in bulk? Hey, this is a good day, let's buy 2 months.
Absolutely, absolutely, Mike. That's exactly what CMEC does. They see a good deal, they buy for 3 years. It might be only 20% of the load for that period, but it's 3 years. And then they add on to that, and they add on to that. And if they're uncertain because maybe it's going to be a really cold winter, they hedge, which is insurance. It's costly, but it protects against further exposure. We don't do any of that right now.
Guys, can we do one more question so the senators and reps can get over to the public hearings? Thank you.
For the leaders, you were here earlier, or earlier this session talking about SB4. Do you see this as we still haven't seen all the details in that legislation. I'd like to hear from the legislative leader. Do you see this as kind of taking the place of that bill?
No, first of all, I want to acknowledge the presence of Senator M.D. Rahman, our Senate Chair of Planning and Development Committee, with us today. But as I said, I said at the beginning, there will be many contributions to our final energy product. This bill, SB 4, I'm sure that the House is working on something too through their committees and their experts. But this will be, as I said, everything that will go into the hopper to deal with this really, really difficult issue. And I think it's one that, as Senator von Farah pointed out, there are many ways that our traditional system has really not made sense about the purchases being timed at certain times of the year, whether those are favorable times or not. There are a whole lot of things that we could be doing differently that this bill points out.
Senator Luna, you're obviously making an effort to do something and bring both parties together. Is there a reason why Senate Republicans are not here? Are they part of this? Are they on board with you?
Well, I can't speak for them, but Senator von Farah, of course, organized this. But I believe he did reach out to one Senate Republican who declined to attend. So I think the Senate Republicans seem to be adopting the Trump strategy from the campaign, which is to sort of preserve an issue for campaign purposes rather than work to solve the problem. I mean, maybe they're doing that too. Maybe they think it'll benefit the Stewart gubernatorial campaign. Who knows? But in any case, I want to thank the House Republican leadership for being here.
Can we ask Representative Laura if you thought that the walkout yesterday delivered any kind of message?
Yeah, I mean, I think that what we're all concerned about is lowering electric rates. And I think, in the House, we debated Marissa Gillette. We're concerned with what we've seen where PURA has not done that. It hasn't resulted in lower rates. And we wanted to go on the record and vote no. I certainly understand the Senate Republicans' position and where they are. And bottom line is we are unified in the fact that we believe Connecticut needs to have lower rates. And I think for Senator von Farah, we've been having this conversation for at least the last 6 weeks, maybe 8 weeks. This is not a press conference that we're popping up on right after the reappointment of Marissa Gillette. That's not what this is about here. This is much more substantive, and we've had conversations on these issues, and I'm glad we're able to have it because up until now, it has been a very partisan issue. And the Energy Committee really has failed. They didn't advance a single Republican idea. They rejected every single one of them. And that's frustrating to me. We are not standing here on behalf of the utilities. We are standing here on behalf of our constituents and ratepayers.
So, Vinny,
Thanks, guys.
you said you've spent a lot of time talking with Senator von Farah about this issue. You think he would make a good utility commissioner?
Senator von Farah has had 12 years of experience on the Energy Committee. And I do support what he's tried to do. For 40 years, he's been a good public servant in this building. We certainly don't see eye to eye on a lot of different issues. I was served on the Finance Committee with him. There are a lot of people that I think that would be a good appointment to the PURA Commission. But what I could say about Senator von Farah, he is actually here working to try to reduce rates. And it's not what we've seen thus far.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.